On this episode of Cape Media News, we get a sneak peek inside the Cape Cod Chamber Orchestra's newest virtual concert. The Heart of Cape Cod visits Amie Bakery in Osterville, and we talk with Cape and Island State Senator Julian Sear about vaccine rollouts, House Bill 5250, and the Cape Cod COVID-19 Response Task Force. These stories and more, this is Cape Media News. You're watching Cape Media News, your local authentic newscast for Cape Cod. I'm Gabrielle Rawson. Thank you for joining us. The Cape Cod Community College received some good news this week. The New England Patriots Foundation, led by Robert Kraft, have donated $100,000 towards the ongoing construction of Cape Cod Community College's new STEM building. In 2018, Governor Charlie Baker signed a bond bill guaranteeing $25 million towards the $38 million project. And through a capital campaign called The Future Is Now, the school has almost met its fundraising goal. The new Science and Engineering Center is currently under construction in West Barnstable and is scheduled to open in the spring of 2023. To learn more, visit cccfoundation.org. In response to an outpouring of COVID-19 related inquiries, the Barnstable County Department of Health and Environment announced the creation of a region-wide hotline to help answer your questions about COVID-19, testing, and vaccinations. The helpline began taking calls on Tuesday, January 19th, and is open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. If you have a question, Cape Cod Medical Reserve Corps volunteers are waiting for your call at 774-330-3001. Or you can visit barnstablecountyhealth.org to learn more. Do you like classic American cars? How about classic American composers? If you do, then you'll be right at home with the Cape Cod Chamber Orchestra, who recently taped their newest virtual concert at the Heritage Museum and Gardens Classic Car Museum in Sandwich. We visited them during their rehearsal to get a sneak peek behind the music. Cape Media News reports. The Cape Cod Chamber Orchestra is a collaborative that highlights the culture, history, and people that make Cape Cod such a special place. We caught up with them as they were preparing for their next virtual concert, an ode to American composers, being recorded inside the Heritage Museum and Gardens Classic Car Museum in Sandwich.
We're here in an automobile museum recording an all-American music program. We have music by Aaron Copland, music by African-American composer William Grant Still, and probably the most exciting thing is we're premiering a brand new piece written by our composer in residence, Cody Forrest. So we have like all generations, people from all over the country, music that I think fits the American automobile very well. Piece we just rehearsed was Copland's Quiet City. It seems to be the perfect, I told the orchestra, it's the perfect piece for this pandemic. It's about a man sort of dealing with his decision to not pursue life as an artist, but to pursue a real conservative sort of lifestyle. And he's wandering around in the play, which is based on wandering around New York City in the middle of the night, trying to come to terms with himself. And he hears his brother's trumpet in his head. So we have a trumpet player, Kyle Spracker, who's playing. It's a very haunting piece. It's very ghostly. Again, I think it's fitting for our position as musicians right now and the lack of performances that we're able to do, and at the same time, very grateful that we can all be together in a room and make music.
Like most nonprofits, the Cape Cod Chamber Orchestra has had to find new ways to reach their audience during the pandemic.
It's been difficult this year, but we're lucky we have a great support from our donors to make these events happen. If you put forward the content and you make it available for free, which we do, none of our concerts are gated behind a paywall or anything. Once people hear the orchestra, I think they want to support us, and that's been how we've been able to make this year work.
Although the Cape Cod Chamber Orchestra is recording their virtual concert in January, the finished product won't be available to view until later this spring. But the wait will be worth it. Viewers will get much more than a concert.
This concert we're filming today will probably be up in the middle of March. It takes about 5-6 weeks to do all the production, audio, video. We do a lot of behind the scenes footage and things in our concert videos. We have interviews with our musicians, interviewing myself. We're going to be interviewing Jennifer, the curator here. We're filming that next week. So we try to add in all this, part of our collaborative spirit is to learn and teach our audience more about the spaces we're playing, and not just about the music we're playing, but about this the collection of Ford and Mercer and Oldsmobile and everything else you see behind me.
To learn more about the Cape Cod Chamber Orchestra or to watch their next virtual concert series, visit capecodchamberorchestra.org. In Sandwich for Cape Media News, I'm Gabrielle Rawson. To learn more about the Cape Cod Chamber Orchestra or to watch their virtual concert series, visit capecodchamberorchestra.org. Up next, the Heart of Cape Cod takes us inside Amie Bakery.
Give me a moment. You've always protected me.
Thanks, Dad.
Every day of my life.
Hold on there, buddy. Hold on.
I'm older now, but I still need you.
Kids are getting addicted to prescription pain pills.
Can you still protect me?
You can protect them. Kids who talk with their parents about opioids are less likely to misuse them. When you have conversations about drugs and alcohol, make sure you talk about the risks of prescription pain pills too. Find out what you can say.
Well, it's time for another episode of The Heart of Cape Cod, a new series that highlights local businesses in our community. This week, we visited Amy Smith of Amie Bakery in downtown Osterville to learn the secret ingredient to her success. Emily Tulloch reports.
Is there anything more tantalizing to the senses than the smell of fresh baked cookies, croissants, cakes, and pies? If you're wondering where these pastries are located, we're at Amie Bakery in Osterville, where owner Amy Smith dove into the world of pastry making after starting out in the corporate world.
I always, since I was little, loved to bake. My dad was a baker before I was born, and I baked throughout my entire life. However, I didn't set out to open a bakery or anything, but in 2008, when the economy had a downturn, my business that I was in, which was corporate communications, I had my own marketing communications firm, things really slowed down for the first time. I was looking for something to do. I'd been taking recreational classes at the Institute of Culinary Education. I went in their pastry program, and I loved it more than I thought I would love it. And right after that, I knew that I had to share what I was baking, and I wanted to open a bakery.
For Amie Bakery, creating the sweet and savory treats from scratch is an important part of their brand.
It's less profitable to do things from scratch, but my mission has always been to bring back scratch baking to the extent possible, and I would say about 99% of what we do is scratch baked. We do the cupcakes, the cakes, the pies. We do croissants and cookies. We have savory pizzas. We have sandwiches. We make our breads. We've wanted to expand our bread line, which we'll be doing. And we still right now have a fairly small line, but we do have several breads that we offer.
You can also perfect your own cooking skills through an academy program included at the bakery.
When you take a class at the academy, we teach you how to bake from scratch or how to make a savory pie, for example, and folks get to know how we do it. So it's easy to come in to any shop anywhere and look around and buy something, but what goes into it, right? But mainly we're doing things by hand from scratch in small batches, and at the Academy, folks really learn to appreciate how much work goes into what we do.
plans of retiring in Osterville and working with a supportive community are what drew Amie to open her shop on Cape Cod.
There are a lot of people that dream in opening up in a big city, for example, like Boston or New York. Since I knew I wanted to be on Cape, I already had a focus, and it's a smaller market, for example. But even though it's seasonal, I feel like with the village and our year-round community, and Cape Cod in general is growing, I felt like it was a good space for me. There's a lot of support in the community, and the state has a lot of resources to help you start your business.
Owning a business takes hard work and dedication, but if you have a dream, Amie suggests to follow it.
The one thing that I always tell everybody is if you have a dream, follow it. Don't let anybody discourage you. Shouldn't let anybody crush your dream. That said, it is essential, it's imperative that you are completely prepared. And I mean for every worst case scenario. Pandemic excluded, nobody ever thought this was coming. I've talked to a lot of people who want to open a bakery. It's a dream, and that's all great. And sometimes after I talk about the realities of how much work it is, and it's not even that I'm afraid of hard work or they're afraid of hard work, it's just the details have details, and you don't even anticipate some of those details. So you really have to be able to plan, and you have to plan to sacrifice a lot, in your personal life as well, to spend the time that it's going to require, because it will require a lot of time.
For more information, visit amiebakery.com. In Osterville, for another episode of the Heart of Cape Cod, I'm Emily Tellick.
To learn more about Amie Bakery, visit amiebakery.com. Up next, a legislative update with Cape and Islands State Senator Julian Sear. Welcome back to Cape Media News. I'm Gabrielle Rawson. Cape and Islands State Senator Julian Sear, who ran unopposed in the 2020 elections, recently joined us for a legislative update to talk about some of the issues he's working to address in our region, like housing, climate change, and economic COVID-19 relief. In a candid one-on-one interview, we spoke about vaccine rollouts, House Bill 5250, and much more. Take a look. You're watching Cape Media News. I'm Gabrielle Rawson. I'm here today with State Senator Julian Sear, who represents the Cape and Islands. Julian, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. We haven't spoken since before the election. You ran unopposed. What issues are you looking forward to working on in your next term?
Wow, that feels like so long ago, even though it wasn't, and really grateful to be returning now to be back in my third term in the Massachusetts Senate. I actually, of all the members of the Senate, I received the most votes of any member. That's actually, I think, I'll take a little credit there, but it's actually because Cape and Islands voters turn out at such high rates. So some of a number of the communities I represent, but particularly on the lower Cape, they actually have some of the highest turnout of voters, not only in the Commonwealth, but in the country. So in this new legislative session, and I should say, we sort of really didn't stop. We extended our legislative session to the end of 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and then we just have picked right up. So traditionally, there's a bit of a break. We're not doing legislative work in sort of an election period. Obviously, the pandemic changed that, but we are in a new session. And first and foremost, we need to continue to save lives and livelihoods as we're trying to come out of the COVID-19 pandemic. So that is, my number one focus. It's the focus of all the members of the delegation.
Wonderful. And I know you guys have had some success with recent bills, which we will get into some of those. But before we do, the COVID-19 vaccine rollout is probably one of the biggest topics right now. Talk to me a little bit about what's being done in our region to provide people with vaccinations.
So this has been, particularly the past several weeks have been tremendously frustrating. And there's a number of reasons and good reasons why, well, not good reasons, but reasons how we ended up here. A lot of this has to do with the actual supply of the vaccine. The ineptitude of the prior federal administration was deeply unfortunate and did not position states like Massachusetts or any other states well to execute this well. Also the structures. Look, we've got this fragmented healthcare system, right? We've got a fragmented local health system. Our structures and systems aren't sort of serving us well as an American society, particularly when you look and take into account basically every other developed nation who's doing this a heck of a lot better than us. That being said, what's happened in Massachusetts is we had a real breakdown in communication, particularly from the Baker-Polito administration when we moved from phase 1 into phase 2. And vaccine was essentially opened up to adults over 75, but there's such limited supply of vaccine that the process through which those who qualify just to find a vaccine appointment has been infuriatingly frustrating. And there's been a real breakdown in communication and some big mistakes here. Look, I and the Cape Cod COVID-19 Response Task Force, we are not setting the policy here, right? But what we can do and what we have done is really tried to get information out to the public. Earlier this week, we held a teletown hall, a conference call for adults over 65 on Cape Cod. Over 50,000 households received an auto dial invitation to join that call. And we had, we had health leaders and Cape Cod Healthcare, our public health experts, Congressman Keating, Representative Sarah Peak, myself, and others, just explaining everything that we know, and trying to provide a better information to sort of step into that gap that we've seen from the state. Who I am most concerned about are those most vulnerable adults. I think of the seniors when I was knocking doors when I ran in 2016, and I ran again for re-election in 2018, and there are scores of people here on Cape Cod who, may not be fortunate to have family nearby, might not have someone who can help them get a vaccine, may not be able to drive. Those are the most vulnerable people that we are most concerned about and trying to target resources to make sure that they don't get left out, because how the vaccine rollout has been, at least in these past 10 days, really has been a bit of almost of a Hunger Games or for vaccination. That's unacceptable. And it's really concerning because we don't want those most vulnerable people to be left out. And by the way, how do you really contain the pandemic? You make sure that those who are highest at risk, most vulnerable, are getting access to the vaccine.
And to that end, you guys have created a COVID-19 hotline number, correct?
Yes, we have. So this is staffed by fabulous volunteers from the Cape Cod Medical Reserve Corps, something the county's put together. And it's basically a number where people can call to get questions answered, to help navigate the system, all towards trying to provide a higher level of communication, like we just did with this teletown hall that we did earlier in this week. We were the only place in the state to do this so far, and I think, having heard from a number of my colleagues, I think you'll see more of these. It's all about getting out reliable, transparent information that the public can trust, setting expectations, and making sure that we're not leaving out our most vulnerable residents.
After months of negotiation, the Massachusetts legislature approved a $627 million economic development bill that addresses COVID recovery and enables partnerships for growth in Massachusetts. The bill was signed into law last month. Can you talk to us about what sort of relief it provides to small businesses and how it will address our housing needs, among other things, here on the Cape?
So this is a targeted bill to get resources to the sectors and workers who've been hardest hit in the pandemic. For us, huge here is hospitality, tourism, restaurants. There's a cultural services. There's a $20 million fund to provide grants and assistance to restaurants. There's an additional $20 million fund for cultural organizations to help them weather the storm. So all of this is about trying to get more resources out to businesses, particularly small businesses. And there's also more resources coming both from the last federal stimulus, and then even more resources are going to come in a federal relief package we expect that'll happen in later in February or in March. So there's a lot of really good things in there related to just giving a helping hand both to small businesses and to their employees.
If you'd like to watch the complete interview with State Senator Julian Sear, you can find it on Comcast 99, C-SPAN 98, or on our YouTube channel. And that brings this episode of Cape Media News to a close. Please follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next time with a brand new episode. Until then, stay healthy. For Cape Media News, I'm Gabrielle Rawson.